The gears are turning, the ball is moving, things are beginning to happen, and suddenly the House of the Dragon is getting quite interesting. Let's talk about why. Hey guys, I'm Karl. Welcome to my movie film show. Feel free to subscribe below if you want to. But today we're here to talk about House of the Dragon episode 3. I've been quite critical of the opening 2 episodes. I did enjoy the second episode more than the first episode, but now we're at episode 3. And episode 3 certainly had an explosive start with Matt Smith swooping in on his dragon to attack the crab feeder. We had some cool imagery with the dragon's foot crushing the guy who's complaining to the crab feeder, who thinks Matt Smith's actually coming to save him and he's just coming to kick some ass. But it was the first point I personally felt in the entire series where they finally made Matt Smith's character seem like a badass, seem like someone who's just going to swoop in on a dragon and destroy people. Exactly what he did. He's starting a war. And then of course we get the cred sequence, which for me has been the best part of the entire series so far, is the opening cred sequence. That says a lot about the whole series so far. But interestingly, we skipped 3 years into the future, roughly 3 years. Now the king has a new son, his wife is over age, and there is now question of who's going to be his heir. His daughter, who was previously promised to, or his newborn son, who's only 2 years old. And that part of the story still has a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of chess pieces being moved. There's still a lot of pieces being put in play, but there will be bigger payoffs to those, I'm sure, going forward. But this one, you could see a divide between the king and his daughter. You could see a conflict within the king, and there's certainly more to be played up there, although it is still, in my opinion, a little bit slow, but you can see there's a clear direction for it now. The first 2 episodes should have listened to Elvis and had a little less conversation, a little more action. Matt Smith's character is the one that benefited the most from this episode, because as I mentioned, he had the opening scene, which was pretty damn cool, and then there's the end scene. And there's also a little bit just before it, when he gets a message from the king saying, I'm coming to help, I'm sending reinforcements, and he beats the holy hell out of the messenger. Kind of showed he was going a little bit crazy because things weren't working out for him like he expected. As I said, in the first 2, they had to break him down and break him down and break him down to the point where he snaps and then goes on to become a badass. And that's exactly what happened. He's been broken down and broken down and broken down over the last 3 episodes, bar the opening of episode 3. But later in episode 3, when he breaks down and he just completely destroys the messenger, that's when he flicks a switch. That's when he becomes the badass character he's supposed to be. He goes onto the beach single-handedly, which is their plan. He takes on all of the crab feeders people. He fights off as many as he can. He's made look really strong in that battle. Even when he's hit with arrows, he stays up. He finds a way to survive. And even when he's face down with men barreling down upon him, seems like certain death, he just stares them down and waits for the dragon to come along and save him. Very reminiscent of when Jon Snow stared down the armies and it looked like he was done for. But Matt Smith's character had a similar thing, even though I'm pretty sure Matt Smith's character is going to be one of the more villainous characters going forward. And then the very end of the episode, I was very torn on, because it was really cool imagery seeing Matt Smith pull the crab feeder out of the cave. And spoiler alert, in case for some reason you haven't watched it and you're seeing my review of it, he pulls out half of his carcass, just the top half, entrails hanging out. But clearly the crab feeder is being destroyed by Matt Smith. My one gripe with it is it happened off screen. We didn't see that fight, or at least the version I watched didn't. Maybe they just didn't put it in the version I watched on Sky Atlantic. Maybe it was on HBO. Let me know in the comment section below if there actually was a fight in your version where Matt Smith went one-on-one with the crab feeder, an epic battle that I just completely missed. But in this one, he just pulls him out of the cave, and we're completely just left assuming Matt Smith squared off with him and beat him. But even still, he pulls out that carcass, he throws it down in front of his men to proclaim victory, and makes himself look really strong in front of his own soldiers. Surely any questions of whether he's a strong enough leader or a strong enough character to follow have now been answered, because there was some talk of mutiny within his own camp. It's already going to be very interesting to see what happens in episode 4 with Matt Smith's character. Is he now going to go and attack the king? Clearly he didn't want his help. Is that the next step? The crab feeder's now being defeated. Matt Smith's character looks stronger. His armies are going to be well and truly behind him. Is now the time to attack King's Landing? Is now the time to take over? Because more than likely Rhaenyra will also, is that her name? Rhaenyra? I think so. Because more than likely, at this point in the storyline, she's highly likely to back Matt Smith's character, because she doesn't like the king either. There's certainly been a lot more in this week's episode, a lot more pieces put in place, a lot more characters developed. I think the developing of the characters has been better at this point. We've now got a strong Matt Smith character. The king looking a bit shaky. He wasn't quite sure of himself in this episode. The characters are becoming more established. The story is slowly developing and becoming more interesting. And my interest in the series is certainly beginning to peak. And I find myself eagerly anticipating episode 4 now. Whereas I wasn't as enthusiastic about episode 2 and 3. Slowly we're building momentum, slowly we're building pace, and now from this point on the series could become pretty damn good. I've been saying all along I fully expected it to build up and build up and build up, but it's certainly been a slow start. I'd love to know your opinions on episode 4 so far. Episode 3 is episode 3. Let me know your opinions on episode 3, not episode 4, that hasn't come out yet. Let me know your opinions on episode 3 in the comment section below.